COT data, anything catching your eye? Obviously, we've got to talk about gold here. Anything,
Yeah,
what's your take on COT today?
gold looks a lot less bullish than last week. Um, so there was some mixed sentiment going into last week, and now this past Friday really kind of cemented it. Um, Definitely a change in smart money sentiment overall. It's still net bullish, which is something to consider, but considering that they declined by this much, they took away a lot of their long positions and at the same time increased the number of shorts. Um, just not as long or as bullish as it looked before. Um, and so I think price is going to struggle at that trend line. I'm not too sure if it's going to be able to hold up on that long term, but I still would like to see some confirmation price action wise. So if price can break under, then I'd probably flip switches as a result. But right now, gold still looks like it has that potential to move higher. Um, and COT has been kind of back and forth, so it can flip again. But if if we continue to see the smart money making moves to the downside, um, I feel like price is probably likely to follow below that trend line and stay underneath.
Yeah, and of course, you're talking about the trend line off the higher time frames, that daily chart that we've talked about. I'll get that drawn just so we can see it. And yeah, I mean, Frank, that's the thing with COT data showing some decline in long positions, as you mentioned, and some increases in shorts. It's really, to me, I think it comes back down to the concept that we've been talking about, is this longer term trend line and whether or not uh, bulls can hold this area. I think, you know, this really helps us if we take a look at, like you mentioned, price action. If I look at like the 4 hour chart, it seems like we're ping ponging back and forth between, and again, I mean, we saw the rejection yet again. Markets opened up this week and we saw the rejection at 1965. This is a 4 hour chart, and you can see this area has been consistently holding for sellers. We've had, to the bulls credit though, some very strong movements trading around the 1940, 1935 zone. We saw huge demand as well. So for me, looking at the gold market, and we'll have to see, like I said, Frank, you've got that trend line on the longer time frame. If we can get the breakout here, I think that probably indicates that perhaps COT data next week, once it comes out, will show big buying again. But it's really just stuck in this range here. And again, this is like the third or fourth week that we've talked about this range on on stream. So I'm really seeing, or waiting to see if we can get a breakout. I personally do want to be long gold, but I've really got to see this thing break to the upside. And to your point, if that trend line breaks and perhaps on the 4 hour chart, we get something like a 1940 or 1930 break, I think for me, that would probably mean abandoning the trade for a little bit
Yeah,
until later on. What do you think? Would you agree?
I agree. And now, before I was talking about the longer time frames, but now I'm agreeing with you on the shorter time frames because of last week's price action. Gold didn't go where I really wanted it to. It had a really nice day on Thursday, that giant green candle, but could not maintain enough buying pressure. So, yeah, on the 4 hour, it's got to break that higher high. It's got to at least touch the 1970s and close above that for me to feel comfortable about buying again.
What's up?
Dude, what happened to you?
Haven't you heard? It's the summer half off discount sale.
Oh, that's right, I forgot.
Right now only, get half off any of our VIP Discord memberships. These memberships include access to our signals, where you can get entries and exits from Frank and I, and full breakdown and analysis with each trade. You can learn our strategies in detail. You can learn how to get funded with our training material to help traders looking for funding. And you can also join the chat room community. We have several membership opportunities, so click the link and check them out for yourself. And remember, you get half off if you either message us or use the discount code you see on the screen now.
Less bullish overall.
Yeah, I think it's just such a choppy market, and watching for those breakouts will be key going into this week. And then, Frank, what's the latest? I was pulling up the COT data as well, just to see what was going on with some other things. And we had a big decrease in longs on gold. We can actually sort by this. We can be intelligent about it. Let's see if there was anything increase in long. 10-year got a bid, but not really much percentage wise, just because so many contracts traded. Oil got a slight, that's not very significant either. What is very interesting, Frank, is the pound had a huge increase in longs, but also a big increase in shorts. What does that tell you?
Well, there's kind of like a lot of that happening right now.
Hmm.
So I can't really get a clear read on anything other than the only thing that's clear to me is the stock market. Um,
Oh, wow. I was just going to ask you about this. Look at this. The Now, Frank, this is what we were talking about. Last week we made this point. We talked about the unwinding trade that could be going on. And right now, take a look at this, guys. We're looking at SPX. This is of course the S&P 500. Frank and I both watch this market very closely. And what we can see here is that under the change in short contracts. Now, these are futures contracts, and we had a slight increase in longs, 1700, but a humongous decrease in short positions, down by 18,268 contracts. We're still very net short from institutional money, but that number has decreased, hasn't it, Frank?
mhm. So we're seeing sort of a shift towards more of the bullish side. Um, I think it was 1 or 2 weeks ago. It was probably like 20, low 20% long overall. So seeing an almost 10% increase is pretty promising. And plus, it looks like the trend is continuing to this week. So,
Yeah.
kind of promising for stocks.
Yeah, and let's go take a quick look at just the S&P 500 for a moment. I know Nasdaq also, maybe one we should check out, but I think that from price action standpoint, the S&P just looks so strong. Here is a 4-hour view. You can see just a lot of green on this screen, right? Big breakouts, pushes higher, pullbacks are getting bought up very quickly. Are you a buyer this week, Frank? If we get a bigger discount on the S&P, are you looking to buy it, or are you looking for a deeper retracement before any interest?
Well, if you pull up the daily, I'll show you what I'm thinking on both S&P and NAS. If you scroll out, I have this channel drawn
We
like
could
in the
take a look at
long
your
term.
screen.
Yeah, I think that might be easier because I'm not
Yep.
really sure what price I started at. But so I'm looking at this, how price didn't really break above or close above. It had its chance and then came back underneath. So honestly, we're not going to really see anything today because the market's closed. But what would be ideal is maybe a pullback to this level, which would be highs of 2022 in August. So some big level of demand right there. Um, the same thing for NAS, which came up to test 15K, which was, what was that? March, April highs of 2022. So it came up and hit those levels and then pulled all the way back. Um, it looks, I mean, to me, it looks very bullish, but obviously there was such a huge run to the upside and it's broken all the levels to where I was feeling more cautious, and now we're like officially in bear or bull market territory. So um, hopefully we get a decent pullback in an otherwise healthy uptrend. And so I'd be looking to buy it at levels like back in the 14,000s on NAS, and then for the S&P, I'm not sure what price it was, but I have it written out. Probably like the 4,300s. So something. Who knows if it'll go that far, but
Yeah.
somewhere along those lines.
No, that's a good update on the indices. Of course, for those of you guys who are watching the streams, we have all sorts of different markets that we talk about. We hover between currency pairs. We talk about gold. We talk about indices. Some of you guys have some requests, but if you guys could just real quick, if you have chart requests for Frank and I to take a look at, drop them real quick. We're gonna have Frank on for just a few more minutes, so we'll give you guys just a chance to ask your thing. Yeah, Stim Investing says Frank is always chill and calm, and Nick is more hype. These two are a nice duo. Thank you for the nice comment, and that is facts. Frank and I have been the dynamic duo for a very long time now, and Frank's always the chill friend, and I'm always the overly hype or overly ecstatic dude. So it makes for a nice touch. So Frank, you balance it out very
We
nicely
balance
here.
each other out, yeah.
Okay, so we have some requests. We have Euro USD, Pound USD, CAD CHF, CAD JPY. Frank, I'll let you take the pick. Do you have a preference of any currency pair that you want to talk about?
I do kind of want to talk about the RBA, so maybe Aussie.
Okay, yeah, we got Aussie dollar in the chat as well.
There aren't any Aussie pairs really I'm looking at. Maybe Aussie Swiss, just because they have, they have a what's it called, a rate statement this week, and then RBA is going to talk about their statement as well. I think it's today. So we're going to get some kind of idea of what they're going to do going forward. Yeah, Aussie Swiss. I think honestly, so Australia has really high inflation. It's very out of control, but they've reached levels to where they're worried about slowing the economy. They've had shrinking economic numbers. Same thing for New Zealand. Meanwhile, Swiss is forecasting another 25 basis point hike. So maybe some bearishness on this pair, but the way it looks, maybe it'll come up and test this level up here at the trend line. So not really sure yet. Have to look into it more. But I was looking at news and obviously the hawkish Swiss, and then probably a more dovish Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar after this latest hike. So
yeah, definitely could be interesting to watch some of the Aussie pairs going into this week, especially. And the Australian dollar caught a really big bid too, Frank. And we talked about indices just a moment ago. The Australian dollar caught a huge bid with those things. As some of you guys may know, the Aussie generally falls under the camp of risk on, meaning people buy this currency, investors move money into this currency, into Australian bonds, Australian stocks, the Australian currency. They tend to buy it when things are optimistic in the world. And recently we've seen the S&P, we've seen the NASDAQ, you've seen the Nikkei, right? Stock markets around the world as an indicator of risk on have shown a huge buy side preference. Well, Australia got a little bit of a bid for their currency alongside that. And so if you think that may be a little bit overdone, Frank's talking about, Aussie Swiss perhaps has run its course a little bit here and maybe due for a bigger, longer term push to the downside. It's an interesting pair to watch out for. Euro USD. What do you think on this one? Euro dollar, is it a buy in these areas? Is it a sell in these areas? Or where would interest start to come back in for you?
If you're looking at your dollar bullishness, 100% 107.40 was a clear, and I didn't take it. I'm gonna say that I did, but that's a clear option to buy, and then a new higher high and higher low again, support and resistance, continuation of trend, whatever you are following. And now that we rose so fast up to 109, almost 109.50, and we either have to come down to 108.50, which is a very deep pullback. So the only thing that is absolutely certain now is another high, another higher low, because if we start dropping back down again, that is at least a short-term peak. So I see increased risk if it starts dropping now. So everyone would say 108.50, this one, but if that happens, it's a no-go zone.
I mean, yeah, to your point about the deep retracement need, you're talking about a really big move that we had there. Where you've got that gray zone where it jumped recently. This move
Mhm.
here, I mean, that's 83, 80 pips at the end, sort of not the end, but at the most recent push of this trend. So you have to be cautious with this stuff because, of course, uptrends are great, but there comes a point where when you get these explosive moves, oftentimes it does mark sort of a short-term high. So do I think the euro is bullish compared to the dollar? I personally would say yes. But to Ivan's point, if it does come crashing down very quickly, you have to be very careful that this thing doesn't just break and start trending back the other direction. I would say, if it does come down to this area, for me, I would look for some signs of strength, some signs of, wicks on the bottom kind of approach before any attempt to go long on euro. Of course, yen pairs have been on fire recently. Have you been looking at any of them?
It's a bit difficult at 35,000 feet, but other than that, well, you were the one that bought euro yen the other day, and I was like, that's a good one. Congratulations on you for that. But
I bought it and I
I'm
made
so
a little bit, but it left me behind. So I got trailed out at a point. So I missed the great part. I have to be honest.
You missed the great part.
I did,
Wow.
and I've been kicking myself for a week. So yeah, no, I mean I caught some of it, but I didn't catch this. That would have been nice. This is the part that that I was looking for that I did not get. Sorry, just keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Nah, what I just tried to say earlier was that you're getting paid for anticipating these runs before they happen and try to get out of those when it doesn't happen. And yes, it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, but all in all, that's what you're getting paid for. That's what you are. That's where expertise comes in, is to try to identify what time of the year are these runs supposed to happen, or when is it not supposed to happen. And unfortunately, when they do run up like this, if you're left behind, you're just left behind, and there's nothing else you can do. But if you go back in time, this happens every year, all the time. Not all the time, but every year there's a couple of them. As you can see in 2022, there's 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 runs, and then there is 1 and at least 2 already in 2023. So there is absolutely no issue about being angry at yourself, because it's going to come back again. So you have to have the holistic one. So you missed one, okay, then you're going to catch the next one. Then you have to prepare yourself, meaning that you need to set yourself up for success before it happens. Meaning, when is the market going to do this again? Probably in August, probably in September. Okay, then how does that look like? Go back in time. And this is what I want you to do, is to have yourself mindseted, so you always look for opportunity. And when you feel like, well, this has already gone, I want to continue buying into it, you're already in a losing position, because you are not in advantage. If you want to buy high, you can buy high, but you're more than likely, in my data set, going to be punished with a stop loss. So for me right now, it's all gone. I haven't really done anything here. But am I going to look for it to continue higher? Yes, because the Bank of Japan is still bearish.
Yep. No, those are great points, Ivan. And I think just by looking at your chart there, as you mentioned, look, before, when you feel impatient, when you feel that FOMO coming into the back of your mind, you have to look at your chart. Like Ivan just said, there's many bursts. There are many moves in the market to catch. Just because you may have missed one does not mean you need to make a dumb, rash decision and hope that it keeps going, right? So Ivan also pointed out, Ivan, you're a big proponent of seasonality. We talk about it all the time as well. One thing, to your point, be cautious with Euro JPY, especially because, yes, July has been very good. There's been a nice move there. Like I said, I caught a little bit of that. I didn't catch the best part, but I still caught some of it. But look ahead and be careful. In the last 5 years, we've seen a decline in the month of August for Euro Yen. And in the last 10 years, we've seen a slight decline in the month of August. So again, if you're chasing hype, you have to be cautious with that sort of thing for your future projections. If you're looking at something and you say, well, wow, this thing has gone up. Well, look ahead, be careful, and don't chase something that's moving in one direction, because again, it will stop, it will come back. It may not come back to where it started, but it may, it's very likely to have pullback somewhere along the way. Eventually it has to. So Nothing moves in one direction forever. It could do it for a long time, but not forever.
Don't forget to check out the links in the description if you want our broker recommendation, access to our free Discord, free EDGEFINDER, or want to chat with us on Telegram. Remember, you can watch us live in the markets every morning starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we have lots more free trading tools and content available on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching.